A number of banks are rejecting your business bank application in seconds. Watch us go through these 9 examples to work out why it's happening and how to stop it happening to you. Welcome back to the Basics of Business channel, everybody, where Neil and I have helped hundreds of businesses set up and accelerate through those often frantic and overwhelming decisions that happen even before and build up before day one. Setting up a business bank account is unfortunately one of those, and there are a number of reasons, Neil, why business banks will reject your application in seconds, and we just want to run through a number of those. Number one is high-risk sectors. And we've found that there's a number of sectors that just certain business banks are not happy with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were saying Monzo's the number one bank according to most of the surveys. So people might want to go there. But if you are food stands, if you're a used car dealer, if you're in the defence industry, if you're in construction, that could be a reason why they'll just say no to letting you open a bank account. And so, it's that bit of what we're trying to help people is, don't waste your time trying to open an account with them. If you can be told in advance, that'll be a waste of time. They'll reject your application, and you'll have to start again somewhere else. And that's not just Monzo. There are others as well. Revolut won't do anything with precious metal. Second-hand car dealers again. Don't know what they've got against used cars. But Tide won't do things for anything to do with insurance. What else was they have? Pawnbrokers, auctions and gambling, etc. So I think if you're in those sectors,
it's more difficult.
It's difficult to sort of understand where they use the term high risk sectors. High risk of what, I suppose, is the question. High risk to the bank, high risk to the consumer, high risk of what? But anyway,
my deal will be high risk to the bank. They're thinking of themselves.
Yeah,
themselves. Are the e-money institution? They're not banks, a lot of these things, but there's no point in wasting. Unfortunately, the lists are there. We'll put some examples as we have done up on the screen there. If you're in those industries and you apply to certain of those banks, your application is going to be rejected. Yeah. So don't waste your time on those. Number two, another big one seems to be either non-UK residents or non-UK based businesses is another one where you'll just quickly get an application rejected.
Yeah. Again, a lot of the banks will only want to deal with people based in the UK. So the directors and shareholders and/or the business itself.
Yeah, and some of them are percentages of the directors or the business owners. Like Metro, I think it's 50%. Other ones are saying all have to be UK residents, etc. So again, that seems to be a big one. Big one that are there. Just look at there, Lloyd's. Not only you must have a UK phone number as well. So like some of the banks are adding in mobiles as well as part of that, assuming, I think, because they're passing a bit of the KYC onto the mobile companies as well, who have to do a few checks, etc. So some of them, as I say, it can be percentages of people involved in the business. Some of them, it's all of them, and they add a UK phone number into that as well. So unfortunately, if you don't fall into certain categories, you're going to be rejected. So again, it would be try not to waste your time applying for one where you're just going to be rejected out of hand. Next one, number 3, again related, non-UK registered address is another one where it's just if it's non-UK, just looking at there, Virgin needs to be UK based. This excludes Channel Islands, Isle of Man, Northern Ireland, and at least one business owner is required to be a UK resident. Again, you'll just get rejected. There's no point in applying. You'll just get rejected. Number 4, Neil, just sort of like complex ownership, sort of holding companies, more complicated business structure seems to be a problem as well.
Yeah, and again, you sort of don't quite understand why that would make it more risky or why the banks wouldn't like that. But yeah, there are some of the banks, Starling, Metro, counting up, you can't have any group structures. So you can't have a holding company owning the trading company, and there can be very good reasons why people might have that structure.
What is a holding company, just as a sort of simplest?
Well, a holding company is a company that holds the shares of its subsidiary, and we could probably do a video as to why you would have a holding company, but generally it's around ring fencing liabilities, so and ring fencing assets. So if you owned if you owned significant assets, you might want them in the holding company. The risky trading is in the subsidiary, and therefore, if everything went wrong, the subsidiary would get liquidated, and the holding company, the assets it owns, are protected from any insolvency. Now, that is a fairly traditional structure that many people would have. Quite why that, is of concern to the banks, I don't know.
Do some people do it as well in terms of like if they have set up a coffee shop, for example, and then they've been successful, they set up another one? There's some companies that they set up a separate company for the next one. Is that another example where people can? No, it's not necessarily I know a holding company, but people can start to then more complicated structures.
Yeah, because if you, let's say you've got a successful coffee shop, you're about to open a second one, so you could say, right, well, I'm going to open that in a separate company because, again, I want to keep the businesses separate. I want to ring fence liabilities. The liabilities relating to that coffee shop are with that company. So then you've got two companies that are running two coffee shops, and then maybe a third one or whatever. In that example, people probably would then go, well, if I put a holding company above, so I own shares in the holding company owns all the subsidiaries, that means I can sell each coffee shop separately, or I sell the holding company to sell the whole lot. So again, good basic, I say good, I mean basic sort of tax planning, liability planning, that people would have that structure. And again, it wouldn't really have any reason for that to be a concern to a bank. But I suspect there'll be some statistic somewhere or some algorithm somewhere that has told them that historically there's more likely something will happen.
So that's probably unlikely in terms of people watching. That's a more complicated structure as businesses get bigger. Unfortunately, looking at reasons sort of 5 and 6 are like poor credit for the business or just starting up as a brand new startup with no track record. Unfortunately, are two other examples where people starting up can have trouble and get their applications rejected.
Which is
how do you get
terrible. How you sort of catch-22, chicken and egg, whatever. How do you have a business for 12 months if you can't get a bank account to begin with? But again, I can see there is a risk to the banks there because high percentage of startups fail, and therefore the banks are worried that they're going to lose money or whatever. But banks are in the risk business, and to just say we're not going to help those people, is poor, really.
But to be fair, to some of the banks deal with it by having specific accounts for if you've been trading for less than 12 months, except they will steer you towards one of their products. Particularly just like Barclays is a startup account, Santander is the same. Unfortunately, there's another thing added to them. At the moment, they're existing customers only, but certain banks, for people with no track record in business, try to steer them towards a product where it's aimed for them.
And I think there's a lot of fake things getting set up, and so again, the banks, instead of making it even more difficult for you to open the account, is they're taking the easy option is, well, we just won't let those people open an account because we need to do more checks and we need to do more background checks and we need to make it more and more difficult because we've got to check that this is a legitimate business, etc., etc. Oh, if it's been running for 12 months and there's a set of accounts and they've got an accountant and things like that, it clearly is a legitimate business. We don't have we don't have a problem in letting them now bank with us.
Moving on, number 7, another bit like international payments. In terms of your business is taking international payments, that seems to be another thing that triggers banks in terms of puts you at their risk profile and then makes it, as we'll just reject it sometimes in terms of because particularly from certain countries, but just generally international payments is another one that sort of seems to raise a flag.
Yeah, you're going to need to go to one of the more traditional high street banks if you're going to be doing overseas business. Most of the new banks don't like that. And again, I'm sure statistically more frauds involve overseas payments than don't.
Yeah. Or you can, I mean, there are other ways to probably, maybe things like Wise, you could use Wise for the international aspect and set up another account to deal with the sort of the UK element.
Yeah, certainly
take
that's
payments in through Wise and then transfer it across to your other account as well. One way good thing that it gives you a backup in terms of if, unfortunately, there seems to be a lot of things just now of banks just closing down accounts. So that is one way, having two there, have a backup between it. Number 8, just mistakes. It's a key thing in terms of when you're going through your application is just being clear and double and triple checking. I've had one myself where just made a mistake setting up a company. My wife was involved. She is a UK citizen but was born outside the UK. I misread the question, thought it was a citizenship question, but it was where she was born, and just obviously when they did that check, it got rejected. So I mean, that was my fault, but just these mistakes are easy to make as you go through because there's such amount of detail there.
Yeah, and the problem, or the additional problem with that is, it's all online. There's no real support in trying to do that. I've had a couple recently where we've opened an account or tried to open an account with a bank, and nothing happened for weeks. Then we got an email saying, "Oh, your application, you haven't done something, so we're going to suspend it." And there was nobody you could speak to. There was no way to try and resolve. In the end, we gave up with that and went to another bank. And even that, though, was, again, filled it all in. And after about a week, sort of having been told it was open, tried to get hold of someone at the bank, eventually got hold of someone, and then they said, "Oh, we can't talk to you." I said, "But I'm the one that opened the account." "No, we can't talk to you." "Well, is the account open?" "We can't talk to you." "Well, who can you talk to?" "I can't tell you." So I had to get one of the other directors to ring, and it was him that they said they could talk to. And the account had been open for a week, but none of us knew or had any way of accessing it.
Yeah, and that's where it can be really frustrating. Some where the sort of ease of opening is one of the categories we look at, is where banks are poor at that. You can make a mistake like that and then not hear for 6 weeks that you've been rejected.
Yeah.
Yes, it was your mistake, but as in, because their processes and systems are poor, they can take weeks to get back and then have wasted a lot of time.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, then. And number 9, just look at it seems to be something that I've seen more and more at the moment, is in terms like existing customers only. So they'll offer account may be perfect for you. Like Santander is one at the moment, TSB is another. Could be a perfect account for you, but they're only offering it to you. So unless you've got a personal account with them or another business account, they're not going to let it do it. And Lloyd's and Bank of Scotland, one of the moments where it's got to be your first account with them. So in terms of, if you've already, they're the opposite. Yeah. If you've got an account with them, you can't have a business. You've got a business account. So that's another thing, unfortunately, where it will just be rejected out of hand if you apply for it and you don't see that small print. Yeah. For some, as I say, it seems ironic. Some are existing customers only. Some are the opposite. But that's the ninth thing that to look for. So all of these are just based on eligibility. Some you can do something about, some you can't from that perspective. But this is just about eligibility, just in terms of even to get the account. It's not even looking at whether the account is right for you. We've got another video on, Neil and I have access to close to a dozen accounts across different providers, and it's key that you run through different things to make sure it's the right account for you. Check out our other video where we go through those categories. We've also got a tool that's aiming to help you accelerate through, because it is a big decision, and it's something you want to rattle through and get set up quickly, because it's hard to do business without a bank account.
Yeah, it's nigh on impossible to do business without a bank account, and the problem is, like we were just saying, that sort of ease of opening, eligibility. Oh, I can get an account with them, or I can't get an account with them. Yeah, so you end up using that ease of opening because it's a quick thing. I've got to get a bank account because I've got my first deal or my first sale coming up or whatever, and then it turns out it's the wrong account for you. They let you open an account. You now want to create a group structure. Oh, sorry, you can't use your bank account
I
any
want to let
longer.
my bookkeeper have a look at the
Yeah.
account. Oh, sorry, you get only one person. I want even another director to look at the account. Sorry, only one director is there. And then you might get advice, as I have had, of, oh, just close the counter down, start someone else, if you want someone else. So we know it's a decision that can make people's heads spin. Check out these videos to help. And as ever, and most importantly, we wish you every success with your business journey.